Hey there, this is John McDavitt. I am your host for The Breakthrough Creative, which is where we're at right now. This is the place where we talk about the business of art and the art of business. Today's guest is a pretty amazing guy. His name is Carlos Behrens. He lives in Spain. He's from Venezuela. He is a 3D game artist, a 3D sculptor, a 3D animator, and he is going to share with you today his journey as well as how he uses social media to build his brand and to find clients. And he's going to go through his whole process of how he works with clients and just share a lot of cool stuff today. But before I hand it over to me and him, I wanted to ask you, would you please subscribe to The Breakthrough Creative if the information in here is encouraging and beneficial to you as a creative who is either making a living or you want to make a living or you're somewhere in between that world of being a professional creative. The more subscribers we get, the more notoriety the show gets, and it kind of gets bumped up and people will see it more and more. And then would you also share the episode with the artists in your life, with people that you think are going to benefit from the content in the Breakthrough Creative? I'd really appreciate it, and I thank you in advance. On to the interview. So I'd like to welcome my guest, Carlos Behrens. And hi, Carlos. How are you?
Hi, John.
Good to have you
Thank
here,
you
my
for
friend.
having me here.
Yeah, awesome. So tell me, what is it that you do?
Well, right now I'm mostly a 3D modeler.
Okay,
Yeah,
and what programs do you work in?
I use Blender right now. I used to work with Cinema 4D. Sometimes I use it too, but mostly Blender and ZBrush.
Okay, Blender and ZBrush. All right, so for those in my audience who may not know what those programs are, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Blender is a 3D software. It's an open source 3D software, which is amazing because it grows with thanks to community. It's completely free. You don't have to pay for anything, and it's a wonderful program. Cinema 4D is also a 3D software as well as ZBrush. ZBrush is mostly used for sculpting itself. Blender is used for modeling. It's I know it may sound like they are the same, but actually sculpting is like a whole different branch because it has a lot, some different tools, some different way to work around the character. So ZBrush is mostly for that part. Those two, yeah, they are paid, but Blender is the one I use the most because I do everything I modeling in there.
Well, tell me a little bit more about the difference between modeling and sculpting, because my background is in sculpting, and I've worked a little bit in ZBrush, and it is like pushing clay around a little bit.
Yeah,
But the modeling,
exactly.
what's the difference then with Blender?
Well, yeah, exactly. ZBrush is mostly for sculpting. You can do modeling in ZBrush, but in my opinion, it's really hard to model in ZBrush. Yes, sculpting is in ZBrush. You will get the actual ball of clay, for example, and you just push everything and make a shape, just like working with real clay. But on Blender, you can also sculpt, but it's not the main stuff that's done there in Blender. In Blender, you work with polygons. You can create polygons, and I don't know if for example, I want to create a hand. I would do so with polys. I would create the polygons and grab the shape like this and create the fingers. It's like a different process. Sometimes it's easier to sculpt and then go back and to Blender to maybe do what we call retopologize, which is just taking, for example, if you create an arm, you sculpt an arm, you then take it to Blender and you can create the polys around that sculpt so that the topology is good because sometimes when you use, for example, for a video game, you have to be really careful with the way the polys are made because if you have a bad topology, if the character, I don't know, closes his hand, it will create some weird stuff if the polys are not correct. So that's a really pretty tricky part of 3D, the topology.
Yeah, that's cool that you can move your work between programs, but then you need to kind of plan, right, and understand what you're moving where to do what. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, before I get too technical, I want to ask you about your story. How did you get from wherever you came from to where you're at today, creatively and professionally?
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a cool story for me because well, I started really young as a graphic designer. I think I graduated like when I was 19 years old. I'm 33 right now. I graduated when I was 19 years old, and I work in a small graphic studio, mostly doing stuff for supermarkets and stuff. And then I moved on to a big agency from Venezuela. I was 7 years there working there as a graphic designer, mostly as an art director. I worked there. We worked for advertising, so it was a pretty far away from what I do now. Later, around 2014, I decided to go freelance, and I was freelance for a graphic design. I mostly did brochures, logo design, stuff like that. And I don't know, 3D was always like I really loved working with 3D, but I never like had something to push me to be a 3D modeler full time, you know. And about a year and a half ago, it was really weird. It's just funny how life works sometimes. I had like two characters posted on Behance. They were really simple, some 3D monsters, really simple stuff made on Cinema 4D. And I got an email from it's a lounge bar here in Madrid that they play music on the first floor, and on the second floor they do like art exhibitions, that are really small art exhibitions. And they sent me an email that they loved my characters, and they wanted me to make an exhibit of my characters there. And I don't know, I think that was like what pushed me to be a full-time 3D modeler. I don't know. I always thought about 3D as a hobby, but seeing that people like my stuff was like, well, maybe perhaps I should do this for a living, and that's how it started. And now I'm almost full-time 3D modeler.
Wow, that's awesome. How did you get interested in art? Like what led you down that path to graphic design?
Well, it's actually I don't know. I in school I was never interested in anything that I saw in school. You know, I didn't like math. I didn't like chemistry. I didn't like a lot of stuff, but I did like the artist part. And my brother is an architect, and he's really connected to their graphic design, because in his college he studied with a lot of graphic designers, and he used to show me the work of them, what they did on the college. And I was like, wow, yeah, that sounds really fun. So I don't know, I decided that I wanted to be a graphic designer. Honestly, I had a completely different point of view about graphic design. I used to think that, yeah, well, I'm going to be drawing manga all the time and so forth, stuff like that. But yeah, that's definitely not the case. But well,
not for all the grocery stores. They don't want a whole lot of manga, do they?
Exactly.
So you work in with graphic design. I'm assuming you've worked in Illustrator and Photoshop and maybe InDesign.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So then you made this 3D shift, and so it sounds like you're kind of playing around in 3D with 4D cinema, right?
Yeah,
And then somebody, this club saw your work, and that just kind of put you over the edge to keep pursuing it, huh? Because they
yeah,
were interested, and you do these really um, like lighthearted characters. They're very um, uh, I mean, I'm going to use the word, and I think some people might think it's not a great word, but they're simple characters, but doesn't
yeah,
mean they're easy, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there's a lot that goes into them to make them look appealing and attractive, and then you animate them too.
Yeah, I'm starting to work with animation. I can say that I am a 3D animator yet, but I'm trying to get there slowly. But yeah, 3D animation is pretty different from 2D animation, but I'm trying to get there.
You know, you're at this graphic design company, or at this ad agency, right? And
Yeah.
then I know that you're not in Venezuela anymore because you're in Spain. So how did that
Yeah.
come to be?
Yeah, well, me moving to Spain actually had nothing to do with my work, but mostly the state of my country. I'm probably you're aware that my country is going to really heavy stuff,
Yeah.
and yeah, I had my daughter 3 years ago. So when you have a child, yeah, like everything changes. I didn't mind being there. I love my country, but when you have a child, you start taking care of a lot of things, a lot of stuff, and I was very worried about her safety, especially, and I wanted to give her a better life that I sadly can give in my country. But so I moved here to Madrid, and I know I love this city. I really love this city.
Yeah, I haven't I haven't made it to Madrid. We were talking earlier, I've been to England and Ireland, and I spent a long time, not a long time, I guess a long vacation in Italy. And
Oh,
I
okay.
was all over Italy, and that was gorgeous. But I'd love to get
Yeah.
to Spain, and I'm a big fan of Salvador Dali's work.
Oh, yeah,
And
perfect.
yeah, so obviously a Spaniard, it would be cool to go see his work there. Although I've seen a big collection of his work down in St. Pete's, Florida. There's a museum
Oh,
that
okay.
has 5 of his masterworks there, and I mean
Oh,
it's just
okay.
gorgeous stuff. I like surrealists, so that's fun. Um,
Okay. Yeah, yeah. His work is amazing.
so when you made this, by the way, dude, I commend you for moving and, really looking out for your daughter. I've got a son, and like you said, everything changes. Isn't it wild how that perspective changes?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
totally.
So why did you choose Madrid or Spain?
Well, my wife and I took a trip. We called it the Euro trip. Like 5 years ago, we were in Venezuela, and we decided to take a 3 months the trip all over Europe.
Yeah.
And we went to a lot of countries here, and we love it. And Spain was like first the language is really important for us. Of course, they talk Spanish here, obviously,
Yeah.
and we thought that it wasn't so different from our own culture because well you know that we come in Venezuela, we come from the Spanish background, so it wasn't so different our two cultures, so we decided that well we needed to move from Venezuela, and we thought that Spain was like the perfect place to so that it wasn't so such a drastic change in our lives. It wasn't such a cultural change.
Yeah, that makes sense. And for your daughter as well, I imagine.
Yeah,
You wanted
yeah,
all
yeah.
that to make sense. So how do you monetize what you do? Like how do you make a living off of your art?
Okay, well, yeah, that that was the most difficult part to get. Yeah, yeah. Well, you know how it is. art is really hard to monetize. But yeah, I at first when I when I was a graphic designer, I worked in this agency, so I had just a monthly income, so that wasn't so hard. But when I started going to working as a freelancer, yeah,
Yeah.
that was the toughest spot, because I had to find a way to make a living out of what I do. So
Did you start
it's
freelancing in Venezuela?
yeah, I started freelancer in Venezuela like 6 years ago, I think.
Okay.
So it was hard to monetize at first, because well, I was basically sending emails all day and practically begging people to hire me. But yeah, I don't know. If you work good, if you are good at what you do, eventually it will turn around and people will start asking you for projects. So I think I got to a very good spot in my career right now, well, where people are actually writing me to work for them. So that's pretty cool. It was really hard to get there, but it's pretty cool actually. I mostly use well, you know that I use Twitter. I use Twitter a lot to get commissions. So one of my strongest income streams come from there. And I use a lot of LinkedIn too. uh, I post my work there, and it's really cool because in LinkedIn you get more like brands and companies searching for your work. So it's a very good way to find new projects.
You get your commercial work, you would say, then through LinkedIn?
Yeah, I started using LinkedIn just like 5 months ago or something. I used to go there just to see if I could, if someone was looking for a graphic designer
Yeah.
freelancer. But I started posting my work there, and I it was really, really cool because I realized how much interest my work gets in some people. So it's a pretty cool social media actually.
So tell me, what's the difference between the commercial work you get from individual commissions?
Yeah, it's pretty different actually, because yeah, on Twitter I mostly get character commissions for I get a lot of mutuals on Twitter that they have like their own characters. They call these OCs, the original
Yeah.
characters. That yeah, they have a lot of things. That they have like furries or maybe some anime characters, stuff like that. And they always like to see how their characters look on 3D, and most of them also need them to be 3D printed, or mostly for using on VR chat, which is a really popular website. So they ask me a lot to create the avatars for VR chat so that I
Yeah.
can use it. So I make all the rigging and stuff.
How how do you work with your clients to get their to create their design? Um, I mean, do you usually get like if somebody wants an image of themselves, do they send you a
Mhm.
photo with a front view and a side view, or how do you do that with your clients?
Yeah, most of the clients already have like a reference sheet where they have their characters in front, the back,
So they've
sideways.
got a style
Y-
guide sheet, right, with all the
Yeah, exactly.
turnarounds?
Yeah, which is really helpful, because without that, it's nearly impossible to create something.
Yeah.
But sometimes I find myself where that clients doesn't have a reference. So what I do there is try to I have a friend on Twitter who is an amazing concept artist, and I try to link her to the project as well. Her name is Robin, and I try to link her to the project so that she can create a concept because I work perfectly with her. So she creates a concept, and then I model the character. I try to do that a lot, but sometimes, most of the time, the clients already have a reference.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks.
Mhm.
Um, any have you had any real challenges with clients in the 3D?
Yeah, I had a commission that was really out of my style, because it was more like an abstract illustration, which is amazing. Maybe you have seen it. I will send you the link. Then it's a horse which is divided in much parts.
Yeah.
It's from Noah Macmillan, and it was really difficult because, yeah, at first I sent the first draft of the character, and he was okay, but I want the character to look exactly like the image. But it was wonderful, and the result was so good that I really enjoyed the process, and he was so happy with the commission. And that was pretty cool, because I got out of my comfort zone to do a more complex work.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the most challenging commission I had.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's sweet. It's cool to have something that pushes you and then makes you better, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. As
yeah. You
opposed to kind
learn.
of being afraid and going, and then you never grow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't sense a lot of fear in you, man. I think you kind of just go for it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I tend to do that sometimes, but recently I have to turn down some projects because I don't know, it was so out of my league, or different stuff from what I did, that
Yeah.
I thought, well, I don't want to take on a job that I'm going to do in a bad way, or not the best way, and because if I do a bad work, it will damage my reputation on Twitter. So that I can't afford that.
I think that's just wisdom, because we
Yeah,
can't be. Well, I don't know if you're like me, right? I've always kind of wanted to be everything to everyone, but
yeah,
it doesn't work well for everyone when you try to do, or when I've tried to do it. So I know
yeah,
what I'm good at, and I try and keep it there, while pushing the boundaries here and there, and going into
yeah.
a few different areas as I can. So,
Okay.
do you have a specific plan for how you use Twitter every day?
Well, I try to post my work there as much as I can, without being so, without annoying people. But yeah, I like to post my work there, because I realize that if you are if you are, I don't know, don't post art for 2 weeks or something, you start losing a lot of engagement, and that's really hard to get. So I try to always not only post art, but I try to always communicate with people, like, I don't know, asking what they are working on, what video game are they playing right now, what's their favorite movie, because I really I don't want to be just like an art box in there posting stuff, but I want to have like a community there, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, I see you doing that. I see you retweeting and retweeting and retweeting. I mean,
Yeah,
that seems to be the culture, right? You're sharing other
yeah.
people's work and then they share your
Oh
work
yeah,
and you're
yeah.
getting in front of more and more eyes.
Yeah, I do a lot of they call it art shares, where I usually like say, yeah, post your work in the comments, and I'll try to retweet them, and I get a lot of people posting their work in there, and I found that was really helpful, because when someone who has, I don't know, maybe uh, 3,000 followers, for example, retweets the art of someone who has, I don't know, 20 followers, it gets more eyes in their content. So it's a really nice way to help people that are starting on Twitter to get eyes on their work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just so smart. You've been so smart about how you've done that.
And from LinkedIn, it's really different, because it's more for brands. So I have done stuff like icons for apps or characters, you know,
Yeah.
these like little mascots, you know, that brand mascots.
Yeah. Yeah.
They ask that a lot.
That's cool. So, what would you say is like the percentage of your work between OC and then corporate?
Right now, I think it's shifting. Some months ago, I was mainly working on commissions, but right now it's shifting a lot, and I'm getting a lot of traction over LinkedIn. I'm getting a lot of work brand related, which is I love working on both streams, but honestly, the brand related are more profitable, so I can monetize it better.
Yeah, corporate money is generally good money.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But then you must be a fan yourself, huh? And you like because I see you on Twitter a lot. I think that's how we first connected was on Twitter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
mean, I have
I'm
a
also,
very different style than how you work. And I love your style, and I would like to just sit and do stuff like you do. But it's just funny how, we have a distinct direction, a draw for a look that we have. I don't
yeah,
know. I guess I'm not saying that that's absolute. That's just kind of my take, is that we have a style that we're drawn to, and then we start to work in that style.
yeah, yeah,
Do you find
yeah.
that?
I'm struggling to find my own style. I probably you recognize my style, but I don't know. That probably happens to you too. That you don't know your style yourself. Like you're struggling. How does my style look? Is it kawaii? Is it, I don't know, realistic or something? I struggle with that a lot, but I think people can recognize my work when I see them. But I do have like a lot of styles.
I think it's funny that most artists I know don't think they have a style. And I think I thought that for years too, but I can see the thread through. I'm looking at my work hanging up here. I can
Yeah.
definitely see the thread, my DNA, my visual DNA
Yeah,
and
no, I can
everything.
recognize your work. Yeah,
Can you
definitely.
really? See, that's
Yeah,
funny to
yeah,
hear.
yeah,
Even after what I said. But that's really cool. And you know what's really cool too about you is you've been really smart with marketing. Obviously, you had to figure it out in Venezuela, right? Because you had to get work.
yeah.
So, what would you say were the biggest keys to getting somebody's attention through email, through connecting with them, through your work? I mean, and I'm sure I know that it's a numbers game that you've got to go and keep meeting people. But
Yeah.
what do you think set you apart from the crowd?
Well, that's a tricky question because yeah, when I started, I as I told you, I was mainly sending emails and getting into LinkedIn to see if anyone needed a graphic designer,
Yeah.
and that really didn't work so well. That people usually don't reply to emails, and then they don't like that you throw all your stuff there and ask for a job. So I realized that I don't know. I opened my Twitter and I started posting work, and I realized that the key is to make yourself a community. Like engaging with other artists, and
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Not because of money, because I've learned a lot all day from other mutuals. I see stuff that they post, and I'm like, wow, and they really inspire my own work. So I tried to what I did was, well, I'm going to try to have a big community here on Twitter, and I'm going to post my commission sheet, and if they want to hire me, perfect. And I did that, and that really worked, and I'm really glad that I did it. So and my community is growing a lot faster than I thought that it would. But it's really fun because you make a lot of friends, you meet a lot of new people, and besides you can sell your stuff in there. So that really helped me to get there. I have jobs on games or video games and stuff like that through Twitter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So people like you may have somebody hire you through Twitter to maybe do an OC, but it turns out they work for a video game company
Yeah,
or yeah.
yeah. That's the case. I have people send me emails and they say, hey, I saw your stuff because someone retweeted your work, and I'm working on a video game and I want you in. So I have several projects like that. So that was really cool because I don't know. I before I didn't realize how how powerful the social media was for an artist, and it's really powerful.
Now, yeah, I totally. I am. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I am surprised that LinkedIn and Twitter are the two biggest ones for you because I hear so much, and I know you're on Instagram too. But do you get any work
Yeah,
from Instagram?
I've had like a couple of logos
But not a
through
lot.
Instagram, but not a lot. No, I don't
Yeah.
get a lot of traction of traffic there.
So how often on Twitter do you post that you're available for work, or how do you get that across?
I posted a lot. I think I think
Yeah.
I may be annoying, maybe, but I try to I try to weekly post my commission post. So because well, I don't know if I get like 15 new followers every week. Perhaps one of these followers are interested, or maybe someone retweets and gets to the right person. You know.
Yeah.
Of
So
course,
you've
of
got
course.
this. So it's commissions. Take your original character OC to 3D, and
Hmm.
then you've got simple and complex. You show two examples underneath, and then I
Yeah.
see that you've got a full body is 135. I'm talking
Hmm.
US dollars. Full body rigged, meaning that means that the joints and everything are all set for
Yeah,
animation.
it's ready for animation. Yeah.
Okay, and then VR chat ready. Like that's a whole different.
Yeah, that's actually VR shot already. It's pretty tricky because you have to take it to Unity and work with the way that you model the character is completely different from other characters because you have to I don't know, you can have too many parts, separate parts, so it's
Yeah.
really tricky.
Okay. That's a whole other show, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Um, and then, I can see the difference with the simple to complex. How
yeah.
long, I'm curious, like how long would it
Okay.
take you to do a simple full body?
A simple full body, if I'm completely focused on only on in that character, I can have it in 1 2 or 2 days.
Okay. So I mean, it's like 16 hours of work,
Yeah,
something like that, right?
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. Um, So what are your plans for the future? Like where do you see this taking you and or where do you want to go?
Well, I'm actually working. Well, I think that you're the first one I'm telling you about this. I'm I'm working on two things. One is really close to completion. I'm creating a brand that
Yeah.
is going to be working creating specifically mascots for brands.
Okay.
You know that
Yeah.
any that's really popular stuff. I realized that thanks to LinkedIn because a lot of people ask for a mascot for their brands.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be doing that just as Carlos Behrens, but I want to do that through my own brand. So I want to have concept artists. I want to have another modeler so that I don't have to do everything. So my plans for the near future is that I want to take. I'm working on the website right now. I hopefully will have it ready by next week a couple of weeks. So
Awesome.
I hope to get a lot of jobs in there.
So by the time I post this, we may be able to put that
Yeah,
email
probably.
or web address
Hopefully,
on.
yeah.
As we, get ready to wrap up here, I just want to ask you, what advice do you have for the aspiring artist who wants to make a living with their art, or maybe somebody who wants to transition from, working at a studio somewhere and they want to be independent?
Yeah. Well, first, try to, you will hear a lot of stuff that artists stir, or artists won't make any money or stuff like that. But actually, you can make money with art. With art, you can make a living out of it if you plan yourself. If you don't look at it as just a hobby or just a side job or something, if you really focus yourself on your art, you can monetize it and make a pretty good living out of it. My advice, I try to always tell people that continue learning new stuff. I think that if I have to highlight something that I like about how I work, is that I'm always trying to learn new stuff. I want to learn motion design, and I get to courses or go to classes or do anything or watch like 100 tutorials until I get there. So it's really important to have like a lot of try to have as many skills as you want, as long as you need them, of course, because you don't know what course is your art career going to take. I 2 years ago, I never thought that I would be working as a 3D modeler full time, and I tried to learn and learn and learn, and I got here. So I'm currently so happy to have done that. So what I always tell younger people is that try to continue learning. Don't, if you are going to a college or learning art through college, don't just keep what you learned there. Just try to learn other stuff yourself and continue growing, because besides the stuff in art, the stuff change all the time. The software are improving every day. You can do a lot of stuff every year with the software. So it's really important to be learning as much as you can.
Yeah, that's great advice. Really, really good stuff. Thanks, man. Thanks for being my guest.
No, thank you, man.
If people want to find you, where can they locate you?
Well, you can find me on. I'm mostly on Twitter. I post a lot of stuff on Twitter. You can search me up as Carlos Behrens, and I'm also on Instagram. That's mostly my where I post most of my stuff. I also have a Behance, but I don't post as often in there. So if people want to really know me and my art, probably Twitter is the best way, because besides art, I post a lot of the silly stuff about my life, video games or stuff like that.
Thanks again, Carlos, for being my guest. I really appreciated the time we got to spend together. Thank you for all of your insight. I particularly love how Carlos uses Twitter and LinkedIn. I've gotten some work off of LinkedIn. I haven't been terribly aggressive on it, but he's really aggressive on Twitter and LinkedIn. And maybe a better word than aggressive is Carlos is constant. He is posting and posting and posting and posting, and he is sharing other artists' work on Twitter, and he has art shares on there, and it's pretty amazing, the community that he talked about building, that he is building, and he's a really good guy and really genuine, and I think that is what is really helping him to grow, because apart from being an amazing sculptor and an amazing artist, he is conscientious, and he must be good to work with if he's picking up all of these clients in corporate work, and pretty amazing stuff. And then I really, really like his attitude too about learn, learn, learn. Keep on learning, keep on learning, keep on learning. because if as soon as you stop learning, as soon as you think that you know it all, you're in real trouble. As soon as you say something like, this is easy, I think you may be in for a surprise, okay? So, don't get me wrong, some things are maybe easier to tackle than others, but when the attitude starts to become one of, it's easy, it just doesn't really seem to be the space for you to stay, huh? I think I've experienced that a little bit in my life. So, thank you for watching. You can reach Carlos in the information that's in the show notes below. If you would like to be on the Breakthrough Creatives email list, there's a link down there as well. And until we meet again, I hope that you are getting busy figuring out ways to make a living from your art or to continue to grow your creative business. I am John McDavitt for the Breakthrough Creative, and I will see you next time. Cheers.